Okay, let's begin. Welcome everyone to be here with us today in the event Water Reuse Opportunities and Risks for the Business Sector. I am Mariana Appel, Sustainability Manager at Ambev and colleague of the SEBEX Water Thematic Chamber. And I will moderate the panel discussion today. So, this event is brought to you today by the Brazilian Business Council for Sustainable Development from the Portuguese acronym SEBEX. SEBEX is a non-profit civil association that promotes sustainable development through articulation with government and civil society, in addition to disseminating the most current concepts and threats on the subject. This year, we celebrate 25 years and bring together 97 of the largest business groups in the country, responsible for more than 1 million direct jobs. The Water Thematic Chamber is the group that sponsored, co-created the publication and other efforts to scale water reuse in Brazil. These groups count with the participation of over 40 companies, working together to advance on agenda such as water security governance among the private sector and water circularity. Speaking for Ambev, a Brazilian company and one of the largest drinking companies in the world, which is a member of SEBEX and the Water Thematic Chamber, we see great value and needs for SEBEX work and our presence in the World Water Week through this event. So we are happy to share with you that today is the official launch of the publication, Water Reuse, Opportunities and Risks for the Business Sector, made by SEBEX, ERM, and Arcadis, with the collaboration of the Water Thematic Chamber Group. The event will begin with a 20-minute presentation of the main findings of the publication, followed by a roundtable discussion around paths to scale water reuse in Brazil, considering the current scenarios and trends. For this today, I'm proud to present to you our speakers. Marina Rossi, Sustainable Development Manager at Braskem, Paulo Alexandre de Toledo Alves, Director of Partnerships with the private sector and sustainability at the Brazilian Ministry for Regional Development, and Durval Bacellar, Executive Director at Arcadis. Thank you for being here with us today, and I hope we can have a good discussion session. Durval will give you a 20-minute presentation about the main findings of the publication. Durval, please, you can begin your presentation.
Thank you, Marina. Thank you, Mariana. Thank you, Paulo. Thank you, my colleagues, to share this opportunity with me. I hope we can find at the end of our presentation and our roundtable good points to bring to our audience about what is reuse in Brazil and the conditions we find in the public and the private sector to use this such important tool. André, could you go ahead, please? Just to give you an idea about what we are discussing today, we are talking about Brazil. Brazil is, is a large country. We are talking about some difference, the contrast we have in Brazil related to the water sector, mainly today in the reuse. Then we will speak a little bit here and there about international and Brazilian legislation that supports our companies, our public and private companies, to do the reuse as an important tool. Some relevant aspects, and at the end we will just to show you the one iconic project that is still today the focus point for reuse in Brazil. One more, please. As you probably know, Brazil is a country of contrasts. We are a continental country. Our area is more than 7.5 million square kilometers, and we are plenty of water. And just to give you an idea about what we are talking about, just to talk about some numbers about Amazon basin, we are talking a basin that is per pass more than 6 countries. We are talking about Brazil, Peru, Colombia, Ecuador, Venezuela, and Bolivia. And when you are on in an average flow in the river delta, we are talking about more than 600,000 cubic meters per second. This is water to flow and to feed the largest population around the world. But in the other hand, we have metropolitan areas. And if we think that this Brazil, like São Paulo metropolitan region, located in the center of the country, in the beginning of the 20th century, was a small city with not more than 2 million inhabitants. And nowadays, nowadays we are talking about 20 million inhabitants and huge metropolis with more than 10 municipalities around, what gives us a huge problem to discuss about what kind of water we can provide for the public sector as a drinking water, and what we can provide to the private sector, like industries, because we need to feed our population here in São Paulo, just one example, more than 80 cubic meters per second. And we have this river that you can see here on the right-hand side is Pinheiros River. That's not more than 80, more or less the same amount of water that the population needs every single second is the average flow we have there. Because São Paulo has a very curious position. When you talk about France, when you talk about Paris, London, or another huge metropolis around the world, usually they are close to the delta of the river. And in São Paulo, we are close to the spring of the river. Tietê River starts not more than 30 or 40 kilometers far from São Paulo metropolitan region, what gives us a very difficult situation that we need to bring water from another basin far from São Paulo, something around 100 kilometers far from the population that uses the potable, the drinking water. And this is a huge challenge for every single inhabitant or any industry located in São Paulo metropolitan region. We are also facing some problems in Rio de Janeiro, that you probably know about, very close to the mountains. We have problems in Fortaleza metropolitan region, in Paraná state, in Curitiba metropolitan region. All these areas are facing the shortage of water. And nowadays, I would say that the companies, the industries that would like to have a safe flow to provide water for their products, they need to have reuse or any other source, not the usual withdraw from the river street and put on the process. This means that reuse until the beginning or the middle of last century was unthinkable, but now is a must for everybody. Also thinking about sustainable situation. Next one on that, please. This with what that we are presenting and showing today is thanks to CEBED's the paper, the technical paper we developed together with all the companies and with another company, ERM. And this is really an important step to show to the public and to the private sector, to the industries, how possible and how far reuse around the world is going on. Just to give an idea, I will just highlighted some points. I will not surpass all the points. Only 3 countries around the world practice direct drinking water. We are talking about US, South Africa, and Namibia. But in US, only areas they have very strong shortage of water. And this is a quite difficult thing to provide because there is a cultural problem that we have to surpass. And until now, it's quite difficult to use, direct reuse, as we would say, to provide water for the population. When we talk about reuse in Brazil, we are talking about 1.5% of the treated wastewater is provided, is used in reuse. This is not a very clear number, but this is the only one we have because we are not so proud of our numbers, but more than half of our population here in Brazil, and we are talking about the entire population, something around 250 million inhabitants. Only half of this population has the sewage, the wastewater collected and properly treated. Nowadays, Brazil is under a new regulation in the water sector and increasing very fastly the pipelines and the wastewater, mainly also the water sector, the drinking water sector. But we are increasing very fast with the private sector. The number of the inhabitants that will have or have sewage collection and treatment. This is something that you can compare with the other countries around the world. And when we talk about some countries like Portugal or in Europe or Israel, they don't have such amount of water to provide as a safe water for the population and for the industries. One more, please. We are talking about a little bit about the international and Brazilian legislation to give you a rough idea about what's going on around the world and also in our country. In fact, the first regulation we know is in US, talking about in California states, and took almost 100 years to Brazil to provide the first legislation or the first rules to use this water as an important issue for the industry and also for the population. You can see here that many other countries started to regulate this reuse, but until now in Brazil we have state legislations that probably in the near future we have nowadays a national water agency called ANA. ANA is in charge with this new water sector regulation to be the responsible to put an overview and to provide simplification or possible use for the whole country in only one umbrella. This means that we expected that the industries and also the private sector would be comfortable and confident to start their projects. We know that we are in many positions starting the use of this treated effluent, and we hope in the coming years we will change this scenario. Another one, please, Andre. Just talking about the Brazilian legislation, we are talking the first regulation we have started in 2005. São Paulo as one of the first states to use, as we had huge problems to provide water for the industries. We started to 2017, and now we had an upgrade. Recently, we had an upgrade about that. But states like Bahia started in the beginning for agricultural purpose, but the other states are starting to implement their legislation and their resolutions to provide a safe position to the companies or the investors that would like to use this kind of water. Next one, please. I would like to talk about relevant aspects. This is part of our technical report for CEBET, but we have to take care about the hierarchization of the use. It's not so simple when you talk about this. You have to take into account the local general aspects, that the distance you have from the consumer until the point that you have the effluent for the reuse. Strategic planning, that is one of the main rules for our governors to provide, and they are starting to do that. Those are aspects that should be discussed and aligned to implement and to give room for the investors to go ahead. We can provide later this presentation, and you can see in details such points that are important for us to implement and to be ready for the reuse. Next one, please, André. When we talk about cost-related aspects, just to give an idea, the traditional way, we just talk about CapEx, OpEx, the values that we have to spend along the years for the reuse, and the revenues you can have with this product, like any other industry. But when you talk about some other aspects, not even touchables from time to time, we can see that you earn lots of different things. And the one I would like to highlight is the reducing the risk of shortages. This is quite important for the industry to be sure that tomorrow they will have water to provide to their products for their industries to be there. The other aspects are also very important, but when you talk in an industry that maybe tomorrow, if we don't have regular rains like we faced here in São Paulo state during the year of 2015, and the industries was closer to stop the products because they didn't have water for the products at that time. This is really something that we would like to stress. That's one of the benefits. But others, as sustainability, the well-being of the population, we will see on the next slide, something like that. That's important also, but you can do that. Another position that we can discuss with you are the challenges for the systematization of reuse in Brazil. There is some, this chart will show you lots of challenges, but I would like to highlight three of this. Is the water wastage culture in Brazil, as we thought that water was a divine product that came from heaven, and nowadays we understood that this is something that we should take care, and this is something that if you don't take care, we will not have in the near future, even for us or for the next generations. This is something that we have to work to change this culture around our country. The other is the lack of transparency. We need to show to the population that reuse is feasible, is technically speaking correct, don't have problems, and this is something that we have to discuss a little bit. But it is also something that should be worked on that. Next one, please. Here, when we talk, and probably you all know about sustainable objectives, I just would like to tell you something, a few of them related to the water. On the left, you can see water scarcity and prolonged droughts are related to climate change. This is something that we have to take care. We have to work with the reuse, but also work what we call positive water. We have to provide more water than we use to try to refurbish our environmental here in Brazil, to try to give more comfortable to the population. Industrial production and the economy can only develop with water in quality and quantity. This means that we need to we need to have technology to do that. This is so important, and I think this is something that is becoming possible to the industry to understand, to believe that we do have that to start to reuse as a whole. The industry needs to be sustainable. This is something that is fully related to reuse. Until today, until yesterday, we used to treat the wastewater we receive in our treatment plants, and through into the water bodies. Nowadays, with the reuse, you turn this back to the products and try to be, at least at this point, sustainable. We should take care of quality of the water. This is something that is surpass everything, reuse or whatever, but this is something that we should take care. And now, at least in Brazil, we are learning that is a must, and we have to do that. Water reuse must be practiced safely and responsible to protect public health. This is something that we have to show, to develop, and to make our population and our governors believe that this is true and this is possible. Next one, Andre, I'm just close to the end. Just to give one idea about Aquapolo. Aquapolo is the largest reuse program we have in Brazil. Marina will talk in details about Aquapolo. Aquapolo is an issue that came from Braskem. Arcadis was the responsible to develop and implement the design and the PM, the project management on the ground. But this is just to give an idea that we are treating and feeding a flow of 500 liters per second to Braskem and the other industries around. And this is, until now, is the largest one. But we have another examples starting, like Fortaleza, that we will reuse for drinking water purpose, talking about 1,000 liters per second, twice the size of Aquapolo, and other initiatives around the world, around our country is blowing, and probably in the next future we will hear from that. I think this is all. Andrea, I believe this is the last one. I hope to be on time to give floor to my colleagues. And if you have any question, please feel free. Thank you, Marina, Mariana, Paulo, to join me in on that.
Thank you, Durval. You are right on time. Perfect. Thank you for your wonderful presentation. I would like now to ask each speaker to please comment about the publication and relevance of its content for engaging the private sector and promote scale on water reuse in Brazil. Please feel free also to share any insights you have during the Durval presentation regarding previous experience and your vision on the topic. Each of us has up to 5 minutes, okay? I will ask Paulo to please start, followed by Marina. No, sorry, I will change it. I will ask Marina first and after Paulo.
Okay, no problem. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. So, Mariana, on the private sector side, what can I comment that the companies and the executives need to understand and feel that the risk of the lack of water, the severe droughts in the location that they are operating is a reality, right? Not only in the place where we are located, but also the value chain. So we have to give this concern in our mind to understand how to mitigate this risk. So the connection between the lack of productive and even as Durval mentioned it, the production shutdown in some cases needs to be better explained based on scientific studies and climate risk studies and assessment of basins, and also the decision making takes place and the decision to pay for reused water is given. Because at the end of the day, this kind of water, it's more expensive that you have. So, and you have to, planning with a lot of actors to do this right. So I believe that with these new regulations that Durval explained for us will be better than we develop the Aquapolo project. But we have to take this in mind, that is the lack of water, it's a climate risk, and the companies needs to know the right collect with this problem. So I give you the floor for Paulo.
First, I would like to say thank you for this event, for the invitation, for this roundtable, and to congratulate Durval for the great presentation we just watched. I'm here representing the Minister of Regional Development in Brazil, which is responsible for the sanitation agenda and holds as its structure the National Water Agency, ANA. As Durval said during his presentation, ANA is working on a new regulation framework for the sanitation agenda, which includes the reuse water theme. This was inserted in the new sanitation law in Brazil. So as also a speech from Durval, we don't lack regulation, we don't lack law, we don't lack decrees. We have the structure, and now we are trying to incentivize the private sector. I work in the new new department here in Brazil at the Ministry of Regional Development, which is in charge of a fund for supporting infrastructure in local and subnational level, in state level for consortiums. And we are investing more than 1 billion reais in new projects. And these new projects will start with the sustainability criteria already set. So this is an advance on the agenda, and this could help to support to develop the reuse water in the new waste treatment plants that are being developed. We have a challenge also with the quality standards that will be set by the national agents or water national agents. We have a lot of work to do also in the financing sector to include the technology for the reuse. And we have also to consider the logistic challenge of bringing this reused water for some kind of reuse, not only potable water reuse, especially for irrigation, public transportation, public irrigation of gardens, and another kind of uses that you can make with this water. And we are trying to do also to develop the agenda is to include some criteria to support public procurement for the sanitation area, to develop more the technologies and to put more money, invest more money on new technologies, cleaner technologies, which can support to increase the reuse water in Brazil, and also can help to support the private sector to reach net zero even before by 2050. So it's an important step, as Durval said, to consider the climate change criteria and climate change aspects on the reuse water. And we are trying to do our best by the Brazilian government side to regulate these in a way that it can be feasible and it can reduce costs, and we could solve the logistic challenge that we have in Brazil. That's it. Thank you very much, and I will be here for further questions.
Thank you, everyone, for the comments. As a member of the group, I would also like to reinforce what you said, the comments, and the importance of this agenda. I would like to share that Ambev, we have guidelines and targets that really encourage our leaders and employees to look for opportunities in this agenda, to invest on internal reuse that we see that is very important also, but also find partnerships in the watershed to reuse our treated effluents externally. Today we have up to 16 projects of effluent reuse inside and outside our plants in Brazil, and we continue investing to recover and reuse more water, to achieve the target of less than 2 liters of water for each liter of beer we produce. At the high stressed areas we have operations in Brazil. So it's really a big deal, but we are engaged with this agenda also. Now I would like to go to our roundtable discussion on the scale of water reuse in Brazil. I will ask 3 different questions, and each speaker will have around 3 minutes to answer each question, okay? At the end of each round of questions, when all the 3 speakers have finished answering, we will have 3 more minutes for extra comments. So let's begin. The first question, why aren't the public, let's begin again. Why aren't the public and private sector investing in water reuse projects in Brazil? Please elaborate on the different issues that slow this agenda down. Who would like to start?
If you allowed me, Mariana, I can speak a little bit about that. Marina, would like to go ahead?
No, go ahead, Durval, because I answered this question in my previous comment, but it's okay, no problem. Go ahead.
Thank you, thank you. Well, my view is that the problem, we cannot say that nowadays we don't invest in reuse in Brazil. I would say more than that, that we are starting a new and a challenge path in the reuse. We have to change the culture of the population. We have to show to the population and to the private sector that reuse should be a must if we want to be safe on the safe sides of the to provide water. And this means that with this regulation, with this new agenda on our National Water Agency, ANA, this probably will speed up very, very fast in the coming years, because we tasted, we saw that a shortage of water in São Paulo or in Paraná state or even in northeast of Brazil are something closer than we couldn't imagine. Huh? Then this means that probably the industries are moving themselves to find this correct way. More than that, the companies here in Brazil are aligned with sustainability. I like that Mariana said that they use nowadays in Ambev 2 liters of water for each liter of fruit they produce. But there are other companies that are not really waked for this problem. We should go on the safe side of sustainability. And in a couple of years, I'm quite sure the values of the investments will be higher, much higher than today. And we will see pop up around the country many projects, not only for companies like yours, but the mining sector is also worried about. We are talking about the automobile industry. We heard something about that. And also the public sector, talking about public water distribution, is also moving toward the reuse as something that is impossible to continue without this.
Mm-hmm. So if I could complement Durval in this sense regarding sustainable production, I'd like to add that Braskem have commitment to until 2030 to achieve 100% of security water. What means and nowadays we already have this index that is calculated based on the type of the water that you consume. We have 17% of the security water. Depends on the basins, depends on the located, but the solutions that we're planning for the future is continuous increase our reused water. So in the same sense that your comment, I'd like to include this commitment because for us the water is connected with climate change. So we have huge goals for not only 2030 but neutrality 2050. But we have other macro goal related to eco-efficiency of our operation. So that means that you have the concern regarding the decrease the water consumption, but also with the source that you assess to consumption this water.
Paulo, you want to add some?
Yes, just adding something to that Marina just said regarding climate change. The footprint is very correlated to the emissions with the water consumption. And I want to add something for the question. The question starts, why aren't we investing more money or investing money on this agenda? We are investing, but we are not scaling up this because we had a lack of regulation before the new law, the new sanitation law in Brazil. And now we have a structure to hold the new regulation. We have a very competent agents working on this regulation. It will be fast because it's being well structured. And it's not that the private sector is not investing too. They are investing, but in a smaller and local scale. As Mariana said, Ambev, and also as Marina said, other companies too are investing on reusing water in industrial process and also trying to reduce the consumption of water in the production of their products, which is more costly related, but it can impact the environment. So you use less water, you consume less energy, and eventually you will reach some technologies that will be cheaper to make the reused water more feasible. It's like we are watching this happen in the solar energy industry. We could note that recently the cost for implementation of solar panels and solar systems are much less than it was like 5 years ago. So I think that the future is happening now, and we still have a lot to develop. But the remark that I want to do is just that we are not lacking projects or lacking investments. We need to scale up. We are not stopping. We are working.
That's perfect. I agree with all you said. I think you all brought good points to the discussion, to this topic. And anyone would like to comment more, or we can change for the other question? Okay, let's move on. So the second is, what is already being done and what else needs to be done by both the public and private sector in Brazil to scale this agenda?
Can I start on that? Well,
sure.
I will make some advertising for the Brazilian government because we just released this new fund, which is called Fund for Development of Sustainable Local Infrastructure. In Portuguese, it's FIDIRS, the acronym. It's a private fund with our private governance, and the government is part of the fund. It's part of the board. But it won't make the final decision on investments, but sanitation is in the top priority for the fund. And it will help the private sector, especially in the sanitation agenda, to put more money on the reuse of water. So that's what the government is doing, not only not only financing or providing support for projects, but also regulating it through the national water agents. And also we are trying to put in public procurement criteria for the reuse of water. I think it was Marina that said about severe droughts we are facing, or we faced it in São Paulo. We will face a severe drought next year in the northwest part of Brazil. In the north part of Brazil, I'm here right now, and I've been here before during this period of the time during the summer, and it's not raining, so water will become an issue. We need to support the agenda, and we need to put more money on it. So Brazil is trying to develop the projects, starting them sustainable and considering the reuse water on the regulation and the new procurements and in the investment criteria for this specific funds that we are establishing now, which will start to operate, I think, in mid-September or early October. That's are my initial remarks on this question. Thank you, Mariana.
Mariana, if I can
May
add
I?
just one more point on that. Oh, you go ahead,
No,
please.
no, go
Marina,
ahead.
always
No,
jumping in front of you. Go ahead. No, it's your turn.
No, I would like to comment again regarding the Aquapolo, because what's already been done. So Aquapolo is the largest reuse project in Latin America. And basically this consists in a tertiary treatment of sewage. So we already have the primary and the second treatment, and the Aquapolo brings this technology that's not a complex technology, so it's so scalable. And what we made in partnership was to create this project with other consumptions companies. So the totally of, I believe that's almost 10 companies, not only Braskem, but also other companies in the ABC of some the region of São Paulo, called it ABC, that's near of the São Paulo, and we agreemented that we pay our fee for a long term to make the investment viable. So the project was developed in 2012, and it take a long time to be launched, almost 8 years, because this, how to say, to gather around all stakeholders to make this project viable was not so easy. So I believe that this should be our big issue for now. We have a lot of, we have knowledge, as Durval mentioned, we have the government now put focus and give and create the funding and everything, but put everyone together, in my point of view, is the big challenge. So, but so again, to recap about Aquapolo, this project is avoiding more than 2 million liters by month of fresh water. So it's equivalent 35,000 people monthly consumption. So it's a lot. And this solution to be able to work was necessary build a pipeline with 17 kilometers long. So as Paulo mentioned it, the infrastructure to make happens is a big difficult also. It's not so easy to build a pipeline in the city, you know. But this solution prevented the Braskem's unit of the ABC region to stop in the water crisis in 2015, and while other companies suffer a losses in productions and in the society also. So I believe is that my final remarks is that it's possible. We have technology. Aquapolo is a proof of that. But together, everything around the same purpose, and from my point of view, it is a challenge. Pass for you, Mariana. I don't know if Durval have other comments.
No, I just would like to add that my point again is that we already are doing lots of things regarding not the investment. The investment, my point is that it is possible and is available. We probably don't have problems with the investors, with the investment, but we need to create an atmosphere that all these companies, those investors feel safe, feel comfortable, feel confident, and then they will go ahead. Otherwise, they will look for another place to build their factories, their industries, or they will change a little bit the source of water, drinking water, withdrawing from the population. That's really a pity. But now, what we feel is that with this new regulation, with the government going, speeding up all these problems and solving the problems, the investors will go and will show. Arcadis is a consultant, and we are very close to the beginning of this chain. And this means that many companies are looking for Arcadis to provide the solution regarding reuse. And that's my feeling. That's more than a feeling. We are quite sure that we're going to happen soon. Investor will come and put the money over the table.
Go on, Marina.
No, I'm not sure if we have enough time, but I'd like to add that it's not only, and we are mentioning here, just reuse, but we have other wash solutions that we can find. Braskem is supporting some key projects, for instance, the dry toilet for the areas in Brazil that suffer with several droughts during the year in northeast of Brazil, and other kind of solutions to water that prevent these wash problems that we're facing also. So we have to have this broad vision regarding how to leverage the water and the sewage treatment for our population with these new technologies and solutions that it's already in place.
No, perfect. And I would like also to complement that for us, Ambev, water is essential. It's essential for our lives, for our live in the country, and also for our production. So we also invest in another solutions for water, like investing the watershed protection, working with the local government, local watershed committees, agencies to help to address these issues like restoration, protect priority areas, and we agree that natural-based solutions are also an option to conserve the water in the watershed. So we have a question for the public that I would like to answer here. The question is how. I think it was directed to Durval. How do you accommodate large swings in flows at the wastewater treatment plants? Requires large equalization basins, effluent storage before reclaimed water users. I think Marina or Durval can answer that.
Marina, I will not jump over you. Please go ahead.
No, please
I
go
can
ahead. You are the expert. No, go ahead. No problem.
Well, we know by heart Aquapolo, and we know the problems we face it. And as Marina said, we are more than 10 years. I would say we because I feel
Yeah.
part of Aquapolo, but Aquapolo is running for more than 10 years without any problem. And this point mentioned is real an issue that we have to solve on the beginning.
Yeah.
Essentially, Aquapolo has a very particular position because Sabesp has this wastewater treatment plant that is a biological treatment plant, but they built the first, the second, and the third phases, and there is huge reservoirs there, but not for this purpose. But nowadays, until today, they use part of these reservoirs as storage tanks. And when you talk about the swing in the flow, I would say that's not the only the swing in the flow, because this is in a large treatment plant like is a BC treatment plant, 3 cubic meters per second. You have more or less a stable flow, but the dangerous position is the quality of the inflow, the flow that's come into the treatment plant. We can have some problems, and also when you design, when you concept a treatment plant like this for reuse, you have to keep in mind that you have some toxic influence that can kill all the bacteria over there. And this is much more important to take care and to provide reservoirs, storage tanks to provide safe 10, 20, 24, 48 hours to provide a stable flow to the client. But more than that, in fact, we produce water tailor-made for our clients. This means that we pick up the treated effluent from the biological parts, and then we mix with the polished water, as we say, with osmosis, reverse osmosis, or other kind of treatment, or ultrafiltration.
Mhm.
Then you prepare the water exactly tailor-made as the wish of our client. And this is made in Aquapolo and usually should be made in any treatment plant. But this is something that we know how to do, how to prepare, and how to be on the safe side of the water production. Marina, could you add something more, please?
No, you explain everything. You have an excellent quality of water. We are so happy when we changed the water because was quite surprised. Not surprised because you already knew that the quality would be better, but we decrease a lot the maintenance of our equipment because of the change of the water. And just to reinforce, 100% of the water that you use in our process, in the petrochemical process, is by Aquapolo. So it's so safe supply of water, and we are operating 10 years and never happens nothing because they have a huge tank of storage of reused water in Sabesp, in Aquapolo asset. And we also have a tank, a huge tank for all the plants inside of Braskem to regulate the flow for all companies that use this water. So it's a beautiful project and it works. So it's there. We invite anyone that wants to know. Okay.
Mariana, if you allow me, I would like to add, I have some histories about that, because I was there on the beginning of when we launched, on Sabesp launch, the wastewater treatment plant. And I remember I was discussing long years before we had the Aquapolo, the responsible for the water on the petrochemical area. He said me that he would like to make a contract with a company with Sabesp or whatever to provide reused water. They would like to pay more for the water because they know that is not so cheap. But the most expensive water is that one that do not exist. And
Yeah.
they are very close to not have water to provide for the Braskem and the other companies. And this means that this is something that I remember the name of the guy is Gustavo Rosa. I don't know if Mariana said, but we are talking about maybe 15 years ago. Gustavo said to me, I would like to take off this problem of my company and give to you, but I will enforce you to provide 24 hours. If you don't have reused water, you should be by contract empowered to provide the drinking water that we withdraw from the population. This means that it's really a serious problem, but 10 years we passed from that, and until now, we fulfill all the requirements, quality, flows, and so and so. And I think this is a credential for reuse. That's the reason we always talk about Aquapolo. That's really a success case in Brazil and can give the confidence the companies will need to go ahead on that.
Yeah.
Without any doubt, Aquapolo is really a great project, and we need to construct more Aquapolos. I remember when we start the construction of our first internal water reuse plant. We visited Aquapolo to learn, to understand the project, and it's the icon of projects in Brazil for reuse. So thank you, Marina and Durval, for your testimonials. Were very rich for the discussion. Now we have a question for Paulo. I think it would be the last, because after that we will come into the end. So we have more two questions. I think we can go. So Paulo, how is the discussion about the national plan for water reuse of Brazil? Do you have a prospect of regulation? Is there the possibility of a national definition of reused water quality standards for different use?
Okay. This is in the water agent's mandate, the standardization and to set those standards and to set the water quality standards. And regarding also the question about quality of the water, and also this will help to support, I think that we will answer the other question too, because it will help to create culture. People have to understand that they are drinking a potable, safe water. It's safe for human consumption. When you have a national regulation that sets these standards, and you have states and municipalities that can even improve this regulation if they want, but following the national regulation, you can set for the population in general terms that the water is safe, even if it's from the reuse. And this is important because, for example, we had in Brasilia and drought, I think it was 3 years ago, and we had no place to take water off. And we had a pre-conceptual about the water from Lake Paranoá, which is the lake where we have a lot of boats and we have a lack of sanitation. And the waste treatment plant in Brazil is not the very best, but it does its work. So it was like drink the reused water, because the treated wastewater was thrown to the lake, and we just captured this water after the inflow of treated wastewater. So it helps to surpass this kind of question of culture. And I don't see much a problem on that, because there was no public manifestation, no one complaining, because the most important is to have water access. We have a lack of infrastructure and a lack of investments in this area, and reuse should not be a problem, should be part of the solution. So it is in phase of conception, and Ana is working on the publication of this standard. And as Durval said, this should be done quick by our national water agents. I think I tried to address both questions that we have.
Okay, and talking about culture, the last question is going to Durval. Durval, could you talk about the cultural issues that you briefly mentioned as a challenge towards adoption of reused water? Also, how do you propose we address it to increase the reuse of water among the residential population?
Thank you, Mariana. This is something, just I will add something that Paulo already said. We are talking about culture. I remember reading the books more than 30 years ago. We had technology to provide from wastewater to safe drinking water as much as you want. But this is not applicable because the population will not accept. As Paulo said, if you make what we call direct reuse, simply treat the wastewater, put in drinking water conditions, and put on the pipeline and distribute for the population, we will have something against that. But what I think is the easiest way is to make the indirect reuse. And I know that a long time ago, Paulo is also wondering to increase the flow during the 2015 crisis of drought we had in Sao Paulo, make a long pipeline to go to the reservoir, to Billings Reservoir, and increase 1 cubic meters per second on the reservoir. And from this reservoir, from Billings Reservoir, withdraw this water and then treat as a raw water that we use. Exactly the same way they made in Lagoa Paranoá in Brasilia a couple of months or a few years ago. This is the only way that will be easy to go ahead. But I'm quite sure in the future, when they realize that we are providing a safe water, maybe more safer than we provide when you have some reservoirs like we have in Brasilia or even in Sao Paulo. We know that Sao Paulo has some reservoirs that the population surrounded this area. I would say that the people that know Brazil, Sao Paulo, Guarapiranga Reservoir is surrounded by houses with lots of connections, not official connections of the wastewater discharging on the reservoir. And we use this and nobody complains because they understand that they are not drinking wastewater, they are not drinking treated effluent also, but they are drinking a raw water that was treated by a trustable company, that's Sabesp, or the company in Brasilia itself, that's really a trustable company also. This means that we have to change the culture, but it's a long time. But in a short term, we can make an indirect reuse that's feasible, proven, and ready to go.
Perfect. So we are coming to the final remarks. I ask to you, my panelists today,
we have also to consider planning, investing in funding projects in this area, and to support the development of technologies which can turn cheaper to produce and to reuse water, even for potable consumption, for human consumption, but also for industries. And I think technology gets cheaper over time when you have a well-established agenda, a well-regulated agenda. And I think we also should adapt for the new technologies and to leave the private sector, for example, free to invest in new technologies and to develop new technologies and to invest more money on the reuse of water. And consider that in the future procurements, because we have a lot of space to grow in the sanitation agenda in Brazil. And we don't see barriers on that for the development of the reuse of reuse water, but we should not put those barriers in regulation. Regulation should set the private sector free, or the public companies, the state level companies, wastewater treatment companies, they should be free. And also the industries, the private sectors play an important role on the reuse water. I think Marina and Mariana can talk better than me, but it's not only a question of saving money, but a question of also meeting sustainable criteria for certification and for exportation of products, and also for entering new markets. And we know that the sustainable agenda, especially the climate change agenda, is taking over all the consumption criteria, and now we cannot be behind this kind of question. So I think that the remarking these 5 points: management, integrated management, regulation, culture change, planning, investing, and adapting different technologies. I think those are the 5 main, my final remarks on how can we develop more the reuse of water in Brazil. And we are not so far behind. So I think there is a movement which will create a momentum for the reuse of water, and the agenda will become more and more important over time. So thank you very much for the opportunity to be here and talk about this with the SABEDs and with experts from the industry side. And I'm available for a chat if you need. I can share our contacts, I can share my email, and I can happily provide more information about the funding that we are working now, and to answer specific questions about the participation of the public and the private sector regarding the public-private partnerships and concessions in the private sector and the public services. Thank you.
May I, Mariana?
Awesome.
Okay, so I totally agree with the Paulo's comments. So maybe to include some other points, the funding, just reinforce that the funding it's so important to make the things happen, the projects grow, and we have more and more projects in our pipeline. We are in this momentum in Brazil. Is the fact from Braskem sides, we are also looking for not only for the risks but the opportunities also. So as a company that produce chemicals and plastic, and our proposal is the delivery sustainable solutions for the society to make the better life for them. So the idea for Braskem is develop this solution, and we are so focused in developing the wash, sanitization, and hygiene, and we have a lot of solutions for these problems, to address these problems. And we have an internal task force just looking for these solutions and these opportunities also, because we make the both sides, right? Maybe the triple pillars of sustainable development, the social, we are looking for the social, the money, and also the environment. When we can see these three pillars together, we can do business and promote the sustainable sustainable planet for everyone, right? So my final remarks is that I would like to reinforce the commitment of Braskem, that we are so we want to be part of the solution of the water stewardship challenge, and with a clear focus to create value in this transition for a carbon neutral and circular economy that we need move forward. And also we are committed to less consumption and water security. So I'd like also to say thank you for the opportunity to invite me and talking about a little bit about the Braskem's projects and its experience. Thank you.
Well, may I be the next one, and I will take you as the last one, Mariana. Is that correct?
Yes, and after I give my testimonials also when we close.
Okay, well, first I would like to thank my colleagues on the round table and also the audience and the questions, important questions made about cultural issues. I think this is really something that shows that we should take care about the human being behind all the solutions. And this is really good for us to hear that not only in Brazil, we are worried about this issue, this problem. And my testimonial is that we are going fast to the right direction. We are very proud to be a consultant company aligned with all these companies, and we hope to be opportunity again with CEBEDS that gave us the opportunity to develop this technical paper and to show to you all. I think this is important to show that Brazil is committed with the solution, committed with the environment we have, committed with the new solutions, new technologies, and the companies are completely aligned with sustainability. We know the ESG is a must for all of us, and we are together on this new challenge. I'm sure in a few years we will be successful on that. Thank you all. Thank you, Andre, for the support, and Sebed and Nina. I would like to thank you also for this wonderful support on the presentation. And Marina, our manager here, thank you very much. Mariana also.
Thank you. I would like to add something. Wonderful to know those information. You can hear me? Yes. Yes. Okay. Wonderful to know those information you brought to us today. To listen to your testimonials, Marina and Durval, who begin the Aquapolo and work at Braskem with Aquapolo. And I'm very glad to be here with you today. And although we have some challenge to address in Brazil that the study shows, and we know we have some steps to go on, we are going in the right direction, and we are very optimistic that we can change this scenario and improve the water security in Brazil very fast. I'm optimistic also, and I would like to add and to complement what Paulo mentioned, that companies may have the important role on this development, and we are looking for technology. We accelerate startups with technology to support that. So we are together with Brazil, with the government, that we should improve this agenda, to boost this agenda, and to assure the security of the water for all the population. So work collaboratively is fundamental. So count on us, and we would like to be with you in this agenda. So we are coming to the end now. On behalf of CEBEDS, we really appreciate the panelists Marina, Durval, and Paulo. Thank you. You accepted the invitation to be here today, and we would like to thank you, the audience, to the attention. Thank you everyone for your time and participation. Please visit Sebed's website to access the publication and also the work we are doing to scale water reuse in Brazil at the website www.sebeds.org. Have a great afternoon. Thank you. We are closing. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye all. Thank you all.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.